Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to Conscious Conversations. I am Lisa Warner. I am the author of The Simplicity of Self Healing, and I am here with my very good friend, Keith Leon, who is the director of The Inside Effects How the Body Heals Itself, amongst many other accolades. Keith, introduce yourself.
Hi, if you don't know me already, my name is Keith Leon S. I'm a multiple international best-selling author, book publisher, and recently a filmmaker of that movie that Lisa's talking about, The Inside Effects, How the Body Heals Itself, which was inspired by my dear friends Lisa and Karen. And it's like the work they do in the world just to help us realize that's true and help us come back to healthy, regenerating, perfect self. and yeah, and I'm grateful to be here as always with you and loving topic for today.
Yes, our topic for today is consciousness matters. And this is so true on so many levels. So, we are consciousness, exploring what it's like to be in physical form. We have been taught that we have consciousness, but we do not have consciousness. We are consciousness itself. There's a big distinction.
True, it's true. Let's all close our eyes right now. Take a nice, easy breath together. And keeping your eyes closed, years ago, as I had my eyes closed and I was breathing, and I was listening to Deepak Chopra. He was leading us through this exercise of breathing. And he did just like I did, said, okay, now just listen to your breathing. Then he asked this question. He said, who or what is hearing my voice right now? Who but is hearing my voice right now? He left us in this question for a while. And I thought that was the coolest demonstration ever. You can open your eyes now of what you were just talking about, right? Uh, just came so clear to me and everyone else that it was pure consciousness, soul, whatever you want to call it, that part that is, right, is not a body, is not just a mind, not a brain. So much more than that is pure consciousness. It's connection to the source of consciousness that is all. And yeah, so that's what you said just made me think of.
I love it. Yeah, it has become really clear to me that there is just one consciousness. And all there is consciousness. In anything that is living, there is consciousness. And we are it. We are the one consciousness exploring all the different ways that it can be, that it can exist. So right now, I'm existing as Lisa, and Keith is existing as Keith, and the tree is existing as a tree, and the blade of grass is existing as a blade of grass, and it's all conscious. There is all consciousness everywhere. Everything has consciousness. We've been taught that if it doesn't speak, then it's not conscious. We look at animals and like, oh, that's just a thing. It's just a cow. That's just a thing because it doesn't speak to us in verbally in words that we understand. But cow is conscious. A whale is conscious. We are all consciousness itself.
And that's part of being awake, realizing that, right?
Mm.
People say to become conscious or awake, meaning start to realize things outside of us that are true or aren't true, or um, have an aha in meditation. I think that those are the things that people consider awake. But for me, when I felt connected to that word was when I realized you just shared. Right? It's all one, and I even wrote that song, "We Are One," right? And that's definitely speaking to this. So imagine you were just um, the one that is all, that is everything, and it was like all harp music, all perfect all the time, and you're like, man, I'm bored. I am bored, and I want to do something really cool. How could I just break myself into billions of pieces and be people and be a tree, be a house, be a leaf, be a cloud, and be all of that happening, firing off at once. Oh, that sounds so much better, even cooler. Let me try that on. It's one way to kind of wrap my head around it that I heard somebody present.
Yeah, the more I go into consciousness and just really tune in to source, to consciousness itself, we realize there's really just light. There's light everywhere. We are beings of light. We are non-physical beings. And each and every one of us was created as that being of light, that soul, that non-incarnate being, just pure light. And I talk about it like we are each these individual snowflakes that have our own unique geometry as the soul, that we each have our own free will to go and explore and do anything. We each have had our own experiences as the souls that we are. When we come here to planet Earth, that memory gets wiped for a little while. We end up with this state of amnesia, and we don't remember who we are. We don't remember where we have been before incarnating here. So it's really easy to just say, oh, well, this is it. This is the only thing. I was born. I'm just going to live and then die. And that's the end of that. And that's all there is. But that is not at all there is.
That's the part that I sometimes wish I had made a different decision about.
Ah,
The not remembering part.
boy, right?
People say, well, what fun would that be if you're born already knowing everything and remembering? I'm like,
Mm,
it would be awesome. There'd be a whole new level then,
right?
right? A whole new level. But at least everybody would like go around their whole life fearing death so much that it takes a lot of people out from actually living while they're here, right? Or
Exactly.
thinking that heaven is after we die, right? So many people, oh, I'm gonna when I get to heaven. It's like, oh man, so that means you're not having it now? You're
Right.
not experiencing that now? What a robbery. Right?
Yeah. That's part of that, I call it the false matrix or the reversal matrix, this programming that we have all been subject to. And it teaches us that heaven is a place. Like it's somewhere that we go after we die. But this is not true. Heaven is a frequency. It's a bandwidth. And it is a place that exists always. It is here right now. All possibilities exist simultaneously. And which means to me, which means that everything exists in bandwidths of frequency. And if we're existing in a bandwidth of fear and doubt and worry and guilt, that's the bandwidth basically of hell, because it's really not fun in that bandwidth. And we
That's for
can't
sure.
create phenomenal, fantastic, beautiful things from fear, doubt, guilt, shame, blame, worry, right? So that's a different bandwidth. The heaven part is in a higher frequency bandwidth. It's outside of all of that societal programming. And that bandwidth is peace and ease and love and joy and abundance and prosperity and excitement and enthusiasm. And all of those bandwidths are available all the time, 24/7. But where we place our attention determines what bandwidth we're operating in. And it's like tuning into a radio station. If you're tuned into talk radio and you're not into talk radio, you'd rather be listening to classical music, you gotta change the dial. You have to change the frequency that you're tuned into.
Yeah. Certainly, I was in a lower frequency or a lower vibration the times that I feel I've experienced hell right here on earth. And to me, hell just means lower frequency, crazy thoughts, right? Negative feelings. Those are the things that have felt to me. And there've been times where I was down in the trenches of that, and it felt the opposite of heaven. And so clearly, my frequency was lower. It's because I was in negative thinking. I was, drinking and drugging and doing things that were just pulling me down, hanging out with people that were negative. Like
Mhm.
there's one way to experience hell, hang around a bunch of negative people all the time and listen to them and
Yeah.
become them, right? Which will happen if you hang out with 5 or more negative people long enough, you become that.
Mhm.
And then when I think of higher frequencies, there's a lot of I'm like I think I'm grounded woo is what I'd say as opposed to woo woo. So when people were talking about fifth dimension and sixth and seventh and all the different dimensions within this space, right? I always just heard higher frequency or light,
Yeah.
right? Because to me that felt less kind of hierarchical, less like I felt like well I'm operating from the seventh. It was like, oh, okay, good for you. I'll be over here meditating and praying and having a good time. So for me, I heard the words like more light, higher frequency, bandwidth. Another word people use, right? Um, expanded, ooh, expanded thoughts, expanded thinking, expanded being. These are all words, and so we're saying consciousness today. That's the word that we're using for all of those words. And that's the thing about this language that we use, especially here in the US, so many words for the same thing. And so tune into the vibration of what we're sharing today and let your consciousness guide you and take the things that really resonate with you from this call. That would be our ask as we share. And I think that's really one of the things that draw Lisa and I together to teach is we're saying the same thing using different words because we came from two different camps really when it comes to the way that we move about this stuff. So our presenting multiple ways, we're hoping that at least one of those ways will be a way that resonates with you who that's enjoying this conversation.
Yeah, these conversations are kind of the offshoot of our direct experiences, of course. One of the most profound experiences of my life was well, I had two that were that really super stand out. Is, the first one was when I was 2 and 3 years old. When I would go to sleep at night, I would just become part of source, but this space of light and love. There was nothing other than that. There was no other interfering frequencies. It was just this beautiful space of pure love and light, which was obviously there all the time. It was completely clear to me that that is real. That is reality. That is where everything comes from. And, I looked at the earth from that at that time and I was like, wow, everybody has amnesia. Nobody knows who they are. They've all forgotten that they're grand beings of light. And it was really traumatic at 2 and 3 years old, because I was awake and nobody else was. Like, what do I do? I'm just this little girl. I don't know what to do with this. So it was super confusing to me. But then later on in life, I had another really profound experience. Was I found myself facing cancer and ended up being terrified of what was going on with my body, and like, oh my God, what's happening? And I didn't want to go to the medical route. And I realized that I needed to shift my consciousness. I needed to clean up how I was using my consciousness, because I was in those low frequency, that, no self-esteem, fear, doubt, worry, guilt, shame, blame. I was hanging out in those low frequencies, and my body started to match where I was hanging out. And it was like I was not having any fun at all. Life was really a drag. And I realized that, the medical route was not the right route for me, because it seemed scarier than death itself at that time for me. But I realized that if I shifted my consciousness, that I would be able to heal. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't do diets, I didn't do pills, I didn't do the medical route. I got quiet and I tuned inward and I asked a question. What do I need to know about this in order for it to change? And when I got really quiet, the answer just dropped right in, plain as day, like clear communication. And I was like, hey, Lisa, your body's not being attacked by some killer disease. Your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do. It's responding to the input that you are providing. And I realized that was exactly what was going on. I had to clear out all of those distortions in consciousness, the fears, the doubts, the guilts, the shames, the blames, because those are all distortions of our source consciousness, our natural consciousness. We are naturally happy, healthy, creative, excited. But when we fall out of those bandwidths, we start to distort. Our light doesn't shine when we're in fear or guilt or doubt. So, as grand beings of light, it's natural for us to expand outward. Light moves outward from the center, just like the sun or a star. That's our natural state of expansion. But when we're in fear and doubt, we start to contract. So we have to all begin to, if we want to really live in heaven on earth and create that for ourselves, then we have to become conscious of what it is that we're doing in our thought space, so that we can take command and use our consciousness wisely rather than allowing ourselves to get in these thought patterns, these loops of it's not okay, I'm not okay, I don't know what to do. And those loops just keep generating more and more distortions. So when we start to become conscious, we can start to take command of our thought space, and we can start to tune in to the higher frequencies, which are much higher truths than I'm not okay.
Yes. as you shared, 15 stories came to my mind. Each each step was like remembering all the things, but landing on the last one that you just shared, kind of springboarding off of there. I noticed that when you asked a question of the universe, you asked the right type of question. You didn't ask, why is this happening to
Yeah, I started out with that one and I
me?
soon
Did you?
realized that that wasn't going to get me anywhere.
No, yeah. 'Cause yourself is the universe who kept saying, yeah, why? That's for you to figure out. Figure it out. Keep giving you reasons to ask why. But yeah, what am I to learn from this? So how can I heal? These questions that if you receive the answer would lead you to and guide you to your next step. So those are the right questions to ask. And for me, it wasn't only like I heard, I think John D. Martini was the first one that said the quality of your answers are based on the quality of your questions. I think that was in The Secret. And I was just like, ooh, I like that. Okay, so quality questions. And I was asking quality questions. I changed them. I wasn't saying why anymore and all of that. But I was asking the question once or twice. And if I didn't immediately get the answer, then I forgot that I asked the question at all. And then I was wondering why I wasn't getting answers. So for me, I'd love to come up with a quality question and stay in that question until I receive the answer and not be moved off of that question. And that's led to a lot of other things like faith, right? Has led me to, yeah, to receiving answers that I know didn't came from the part of me that is connected to everything, that created everything, right? Tapped into that space and ultimately got all the noise out of the way long enough to receive that. I feel like that's what it is for me. As long as there's a fear, doubt, worry, all the qualities you were talking about, even wonder, frustration, anger, any of those lower frequencies will block my knowing and block my answer. And when I get rid of all of those feelings, thoughts, and actually come to a place of, ah, that's where the answers drop in for me. So that's why I teach, sit, ask, listen. Listen mean stay in the one question until you receive the answer. Um, you went all the way back to where you started in your last share. Uh, my son Timar was born remembering everything about why before he came here, including being in the womb and what that was like and what it sounded like and felt like. And he put words on all of that. Oh, do you remember when? He would always say, do you remember when? And he would share with us things that were, and he had full remembering everything before this lifetime until he went to school. And when he went to school, then and shared these things, then people said, you're whatever, fill in the blank,
Uh,
negative stuff. You are this, you're that, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Rah, 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 rah.
yeah,
And then it just faded away. And he
right.
can still remember that. Remember feeling it fade away. And I too was born remembering. Now you remember more vividly and younger than than I did than I do. So I don't really remember being 2, but I do remember being 5, 6, 7, and being fully conscious of things that adults, even from a pulpit with the little thing on their neck claiming to be the head of a church, um, would be sharing quotes from scriptures. And even at that young age, going, no, that's not what he meant. Right? I got into a lot of trouble for that because I was still remembering. So it was, for me, it's weird. There's like a skip of of time from when I was born to maybe 5, 6, 7, somewhere in there. That's where I can recall memories. And I think that's because for me there was so much trauma in those early years. Mom, and dad fighting till 2, and then they split. Then it was a tug of war of who gets us and all of that. So I feel like my subconscious was like, yeah, we don't want to remember that. So it skipped to when things were settled in, taking care of mom, and now grandma came in the picture, and she was really taking care of me, and she was the one mentoring, teaching me life things and showing me examples of the good things of life. And then I think that's really where my memory starts,
Hmm.
and purposely, sure. And yeah, and it was very clear of the thing that we're talking about really early, of consciousness,
Hmm.
of being made up of that and being source. And I didn't know how to put words on it at that young of an age. I just knew that it felt like an anomaly. It felt like a weirdo. Everyone else was playing with their toys, talking about shoes, pants, and you know, school and little silly little things that I was just like, what? I don't get it. And going out to play, right? And being the wise one, because I could hear my angel at that time, and we'd be playing, and it would be like, no, tell him not to go down between the two buildings, right? And I'd get, so how do you, as a kid, wait, no, 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 let's come over here. Because if when I said don't go down there, Angel just told me that was a whole different conversation and the way I was treated. So I kind of just learned to say, hey, I don't think we should go there. Let's go over here. Just kind of divert that energy, and then people will flow with you. If you just go, oh, let's go over here, and you start walking, people will follow you. And I think that was my best way to kind of lead and guide energy through consciousness as a young child. Because when I put words on what was really happening, if we go down there, something's going to happen, and it's not going to be good. They're just like, what are you talking about? So it's yeah, tapping into this space that we're talking about is available now, is available now, is available now, in each moment is available to you. And it's like Lisa said, dialing that radio dial to the frequency of that which you resonate with, that has what you wish to receive in that place. And for me, it usually starts by sitting down and turning off the static, the noise in between the stations,
Yes.
right? And that is the qualities that you listed, fear, doubt, worry, anger, shame, frustration. They go on and on and on. It, that list. So shutting all of that, just breathing and remembering. And even if you took one word with you today and you got to where you just closed your eyes and said consciousness, consciousness, that could help you dial it up, get out of those lower frequencies, get into one that have answers that you really want.
Exactly. When I think about being pure light, pure consciousness, I realize that there is literally nothing that can harm me from this physical realm. I mean, consciousness doesn't die. You can't punch it. You can't, like you can't do anything from the physical realm to harm consciousness. So there's really truly nothing to be afraid of here. You know, like we have become so identified with our physical bodies, And that we think that if the physical body stops functioning, that we cease to exist. And that's a really big distortion in consciousness for humanity, because we've been taught that life is short, that we have to get old, we have to age, that disease is inevitable. And these are all distortions in consciousness. They're ways that our consciousness has been harnessed and focused in such a specific direction that everybody agrees to that pattern. And so then we just simply we generate that pattern. And if we become conscious, like, well, wait a second, these bodies are constantly regenerating and rejuvenating themselves, constantly creating brand new cells. Why would we actually age? There is no like aging mechanism. It is our consciousness. It happened, in the words of Keith Leonis, it happens as we believe. And we have just been taught to believe all of these things. So we generate these things and we go, well, see, it's obviously the way it is. But it's being generated from our consciousness, and we can change that at any point in time. We are so much more than we've been allowed to know. We have so many more gifts, so many more talents, so many more capabilities. But if we don't look for them, we'll never notice them.
Yeah, we in the powers that be have worked very hard to program that age is a thing, that sick is a thing, that all of the things that are the opposite of what we're sharing with you has been, I mean, drilled, drilled into us. Uh, marketing in the scripts of the movies and TV shows. I remember the first time that I noticed on TV shows that as soon as someone walks through the door, they go to the refrigerator and grab a beer or a glass of wine on TV, on kids' shows, right? So, okay, so you drink when you get home, right? And there's no distinction of do you drink till you pass out, right? It doesn't, there's no like lesson other than drink, right? So now we're selling products. And as soon as I started noticing that, then I saw all the other in TV, and, and very much if you once you kind of notice that, then notice the commercials that are playing during the TV show, selling the things that they were drinking and doing on the show, and everything about TV and movies is to program us to think a certain way. So many shows I've watched when people get diagnosed with cancer. It's the, they went to a doctor, and the doctor said, "You have this." And they said, "What do I do? Tell me what to do." And it was like, "Of course you're going to take all these incredibly horrible toxic poisons, and we're going to radiate you and do things that ultimately are going to take you to the edge of death. And then at that point, either you'll choose, right? You'll choose on the edge of death, either, no, I want to live. I want to live. So you make that choice. And then that's when people go into remission and heal because they made a choice to live. Or I just can't do this. And then they die. Because throwing up, hair falling, I mean, hell, if you think that's all that's available for you for the rest of your life, you're just going to make that choice. So, and very few times, and I watched a lot of those movies, right? I really, really got caught up in that because I'm a filmmaker and I love films and I love films that evoke emotion. And I'm just always thinking that it's going to be the one film where they don't choose to take the chemo, or they they get to the end and then they go into remission and then it sticks. Not remission oh, it looked like everything was fine, and then all of a sudden they're gone, right? It's like in the movies, they always die. So it's like, why am I watching these? Because I'm crying. I feel like crap when it's over. Yeah, it was great acting, but like, what message is even in this for me? So that's part of why I'm so looking forward to making feature films, is to make films where there's a different result, where there's a different programming, there's a different lesson. Yes, I'm going to put programming in my films, and guess what? It's going to be positive programming. It's going to be um, lessons. Like, you'll leave from watching my film going with hope and feeling like, wow, I really loved when you know the father said, no matter what you ever do, I will always love you. Always. There's nothing you could do that would make me love you any less. Right? All those things where you just feel like, oh man, I loved in that movie when this happened. Those are the films I want to make, because those are the films of my life. Those are how I believe, what I believe, and what I've seen manifested and seen demonstrated. The opposite of all the films that I watch, I've seen
Mhm.
happen in my life. I saw my aunt go, yeah, no, I'm not doing that, and reverse supposedly the gnarliest form of cancer all throughout her body, 2 weeks to live, and turn it around in 2 weeks, like gone. So I've seen that demonstrated, but it's a very small percentage, and that's really the reason for the inside effects films. How many people can we reach to reverse that story? At least
Right.
put someone on the path to tuning in to a different station, even if it's baby steps. They're like, wow, I went through a whole winter and didn't get a cold or anything, and didn't actually take that poison flu shot in my own. Right? Huh, that's amazing. I did that. Or I ate 5 vegetables and one little serving of meat, right? In my meal. Like, whatever the baby steps are toward a higher vibration, right? A tuning in to being led by consciousness as opposed to marketing. And that's the word I use, because I feel like all the negative feedback comes from marketing, and it comes from uh, whether it comes from grandparents or teachers, they were all programmed by
Mhm.
marketing of some sort,
Yeah.
even before there were
Course.
TVs, right? Before there were TVs, then it was the radio and the commercials and the political people saying, this is what it is. And
Mhm.
people just lockstep saying, I guess that's what it is. That's what I was told.
Yeah, exactly. We've been taught that it is what it is, and you just have to make the best of it. And it's not true at all. We are grand creator beings, and we can create anything we desire. We can create any quality existence that we desire. We are each responsible for our own state of being. And, as children, we're told how to be. Like, we don't really have much say in our state of being many times. You will sit down, you will listen to your teacher, you will eat those vegetables out of the can. It's like, ooh, like, and we're told that if we don't be a specific way, that we're going to get punished. So from the get go, we kind of give up our agency. We give up our personal authority to be any way we desire to be free. I want to go out and play. No, you have to go to school now. It's like, ooh.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to take our own agency back, to realize that I'm the only one that's responsible for my state of being. And just because everybody else around me is in a state of chaos and confusion doesn't mean that I need to join them. Like, it's completely optional. Fear is completely optional. We have
Yeah, and I love you. You used the word, we're told, we were told, and that's when I'm in the teaching capacity, leading the training, teaching somebody. Who told you that would be my question to anything any negative thinking that people have.
Yep.
Who told you that? Oh, well, my father. Oh, and then blah 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 blah. Ooh, negative thing. Who told you that? Just keep asking that question, and a lot of times, interestingly enough, who told you that? Sure, I don't even remember. Okay, that's news, media, movies, TV, right? It is the ones that you can't remember. And I hardly ever use air quotes, but I can't remember, then yeah, that's that type of program. All the other ways that is, I can't remember. And then the ones where we felt kind of personally costed, then that's mom, dad, grandma, teacher. Teacher said, I can't sing. I've heard people with gorgeous voices that can't sing. I'm like, who told you that? My fourth grade teacher. Well, you have their name or number? I'd love to give them a call because that's not cool to do to someone.
right?
Yeah, yeah, and even like it's like I can't dance is a lot. Like a lot of guys deal with that one, and it's like women don't care if you can dance well. It's about standing up and going like this, and with them, like that's it. It's not about. It's not a. I'm great at it or I'm bad at it. It's just like, are you willing to stand there and go from foot to foot with me to a beat, kind of, right? Or or singing too. Like it's like you can't teach pitch, unfortunately. So if someone like is kind of tone deaf to music, that can't teach. But I would never discourage someone from singing because of that. And I'm a singer, right? And when people would say, "Will you teach me?" and then there have been a few times where somebody like literally can't hear it, right? And I say, "Okay, well, um, probably won't get in a choir if it's a professional big thing, but don't stop singing. Sing in your shower. Sing for anyone who will listen. Sing loud and proud, right? If you wanted to be a professional and get paid for it, then I might say, um, how can we use that voice in another way and point them in that direction? Right? That's the only thing you can't really teach is pitch, but timing and how to read in the pocket and all those musical sayings, those can be taught and unprogram somebody from that fourth grade teacher saying, don't quit your day job or whatever they said. It's just like, it's mind blowing to me that people will say those things to children, right?
I
And there's
know.
so much of that, so much when we work with people and they're talking about trauma, it's always from young age that it started. Usually parents, teacher, and a lot of times TV, media, all those things. But it's so vulnerable and young because we go on remembering all the other stuff and trying to drag it forward with us. But there's just so much of this other noise coming in that just beats that down. So I truly feel like that's why people meditate, why people sit in silence and breathe, especially at the beginning, is to remember all the stuff that we forgot.
Exactly.
Remembered in this lifetime. That's I think people are thinking that they're sitting down to try to remember before this lifetime, right? Tap into something that's like before we were even in a body. And I think it's remembering the things that we did remember when we came into the body. and that were programmed out of us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. We have to realize that really everything is a program, like meaning that there's a specific way that the universe works, and it works in tandem with our consciousness. Like everything is fluid, everything is plasma, everything is changeable. And the we live in this electromagnetic environment, and our thoughts are electrical and our emotions are magnetic, and how we combine those tells the particles of plasma how to form themselves. So we are each generating our own reality in all moments of time. There is only one now moment. That is the only time that actually exists, is right now. And where our thoughts are, where we are focused, determines on what the next now moment is going to be, and the next now moment. And if we're in our head looping around and around with, oh my God, I don't know what to do, what's going on, where's the world, and then we're just going to be creating a chaotic mess, because we're not focused on anything that we desire. We're focused on, oh my God, reacting to the world around us. And then we just generate more and more of the same stuff that's going on around us. But when we get quiet and we tune in, we can recognize, all right, I'm the creator. I am responsible for my own creations. What do I actually wish to experience? And, if I want to experience being light and free and happy, then I have to tune my dial into those frequencies. I have to spend enough time focusing and tuning my vibration to match. Because if I don't match that vibration, if I'm just like, oh my God, again, I'm never going to experience those frequencies. It's not possible. So the universe is simply mirroring our emissions, what we are thinking about, how our body is vibrating. What are we transmitting? We're transmitting in every moment of every day. And we are receiving in every moment of every day. So where we focus determines on what we're receiving, and what we're receiving then influences what we're generating, what we're projecting, transmitting. So when we start to realize, oh, wait a second, am I just looking outside and just reacting by rote to everything going on, therefore transmitting a bunch of gobbledygook? Or can I get quiet, tune in, notice the consciousness that I am that is connected to all that is? And can I then focus my consciousness in a productive, healthy, fun direction so that I can generate some really cool stuff? Like, this is how the hologram that we live in works. And when we have this idea that there's a collective consciousness, because everybody is experiencing similar things here on this playing field, but basically everybody has their own, there's only this conscious, we each have our own consciousness. But when our consciousness is all tuned into the same thing at the same time, then it appears that we have a collective consciousness, because everybody is just like, hey, look over here, look over here, look at this. I'm like, oh, and we're all looked at the same thing going, oh my gosh. And then it manifests, whatever it is that we're looking at just comes to fruition.
So, do any of you have kids, or you've seen the video games where they're have nothing and then they start to build a house? So everything around them, they're like, oh, I think I want a three bedroom. Okay, now I'm in the living room. I'm gonna put a couch here. Let me buy a couch. Couch. I'm gonna have a lamp here and lamp here. Oh, that's 20 credits each, whatever. And they start just like building their whole life around them in this video game. And it's as easy as going, I want to put it that, and I want to put it there, and I want to do that, and I want to put it there, I want to do that, and put it right there. That's what this life is when you're in tune, when you know and believe that you are the creator of everything without a shadow of a doubt, and that when you say, this is happening, that it's happening, it's only how much time does it take to manifest, right? That's the difference. And even that, I feel like, is based on the percentage of belief, right? So I feel like anybody who's like 100% clear about what I just said, and they're like, I want to manifest this and I want to manifest it now, if their belief is 100%, that it will just materialize right in front of their eyes. Be like, oh, there it is. Wow, I'm not sure I should do that in front of other people. It might freak them out a little bit, but I literally just said, I will have a blue mouse, blue and black mouse in my hand right now. And I believe that 100%, it happens. Uh, those are the kind of things that I got to see demonstrated in real time. You read my book, Walking with My Angels. That time in my life when I was with this angel who was just proving to me that the things that we are saying right now are true, because I didn't believe them myself. And even to this day, I have a hierarchy of what percentage I fully believe, because programming, time, long time since all that happened, right? So my mind and all the programming says, did that really happen? Did that one really happen? Did it happen exactly as you wrote it? Did right? And even when I wrote the book, I called my ex-wife, who was there with me at the time, just to verify some of the things, because they were so incredible, the things I was writing and remembering, that I was like, had this little doubt. So I called her up, said, did this happen? And she was like, absolutely. And then she remembered some other things that I had forgotten, right? Because programming really had said, nah, right, to the rest of the stuff. So then she remembered things. And then when she said it, then I remembered. So then it was like that video game that I was just talking about. So as she was sharing the things that I had forgotten, whew, then they were materializing in my memory to, oh my God, now I do remember that. I had taken the cloak of training or programming off because she told me, and then it helped me to remember. So these are the levels of consciousness. These are the levels of the things that we're sharing with you. And why Lisa said, as Keith says, it happens as you believe, that was one of the things that my angel taught me, is that our belief system, how strongly we believe something, has everything to do with how fast we will manifest it. And we are always manifesting, but only every time if we really keep track of it. And it's just the amount of time before it manifests that is that's the thing. Right? That's the main piece.
Exactly. As we start to just open our awareness and start to realize how powerful our consciousness actually is, we can start to harness the power that is ours already.
Mm-hmm.
We have been taught to be powerless in this society. The program, this matrix, is all about power, power over and powerless. So the people with power and the people who are powerless. And look at all the energy grid thing, right? The power grid. Where are we going to get power? From the sun, from the hamster running around the wheel. Like, we are the power. We have this power. We have the power to create an incredible, beautiful heaven on earth experience.
Yeah.
And we have the power to create the opposite. You know, we've been doing the opposite for a really long time. Let's shift our consciousness. Let's utilize the power that we have as grand creator beings. And let's turn our light back on. Let's tune in to these frequencies of peace. If you walk around every day in peace, you insist on peace, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
people can't mess with you if
Yeah.
you don't mess with them back.
Yeah. So right now, let's all just imagine in front of us there's a seeming light switch, right? Got a light switch in front of us. And right now it's down in what we know as the off position. So think of something negative that's a belief system that you have right now in your life. There's a seemingly negative thought pattern that you have. I can do one, right? So just think of one. All right. So our light is shut off, which is why we have that thought. So now what's the opposite of that thought? What would you rather have? How do you want it to be? Now take this switch and flip it up. And now that's on. Now that's happening. Now that's coming to you. So what's something else, like a negative thought that you have about someone else? Ugh. Think of someone else. You have a negative thought or a judgment about them. Real quick. Got it. Okay. Then, how do you want to feel about them? How would you rather see them than the way that you're feeling about them now? Think about that. Take the switch and flip it up. And so it is. Right? My angel used to say, how do you want it to be? It was so annoying. Right? How do you want it to be? Just all the time would be asking me that. One of the greatest tools I ever received, and all it did was piss me off. At the time, how do you want it to be? How do you think I want it to be? Say it. How do you want it to be? Okay, it's that easy. Say it. Okay, all right. So like the analogy of the switch. It's literally just flicking a switch. You can change your energy that fast. And now, when you take those few things that we just did now, and now you act on the pattern, the thing that when we flicked that switch on together, act from that space now. I no longer have that judgment I had about that person. I see them as this. I see them in a bright light. See how that person's energy may now match your energy and your light, and be a completely different person possibly the next time you see them, based on how much you believe in the light switch that we just did right now.
Yes.
We can't affect other people because the truth is they were just doing them the whole time, being who they are. It was how we perceived them. That was the difference. And now that we flicked the switch, we'll perceive them in a different way, which means we will act in a different way with them, which will then, they will reflect that energy. And so you may think that they changed or it's a change in them. All you, only you. Every time you,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It's all in our perception,
Yes.
which is going to be our next topic for our next show. So this has been the first episode of Conversations in Consciousness.
Mhm.
We hope that you are enjoying these conversations. We hope to bring you many more. What else? Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off today, Keith?
Well, just thank you all for joining us, and we look forward to more conversations in consciousness with you. and tell someone that you know about this, someone that you wish knew this stuff, right? Tell them, tune in with them, meet me online at this time. Let's listen to this together so that then we can get together and have conscious conversations together.
Beautiful. So yes, thank you everybody for joining in today, tuning in to our station. And we hope that this has sparked some new consciousness, some redirection of consciousness so that you can see the power that you already possess.
Yes.
You can change everything. You can change the entire world by turning your light back on, to opening your consciousness to realize what's actually possible, who you truly are as a grand being of light. These angel wings are in the background to help us remember that we are more than merely human. We are not human at all. We are not physical at all. We are pure consciousness, taking form,
Yes.
physicalness.
So it is.
So
See
it
you-
is.
See
Have
you
a
next time.
beautiful rest of your day, everyone. Until next time, create for yourselves a great day because you can. Bye for now.